So today we are taking a look at the William Shakespeare fighter from the Unmatched games. And so Shakespeare is a fighter from the Unmatched set Slings and Arrows, where he is paired up against his creations Titania, Hamlet, and the Wayward Sisters. So Shakespeare is, of course, the great bard, the author. People love to quote him. People in school hate him. Absolutely not someone who you would think should be in a fighting game. So, Shakespeare is a health 13 melee fighter with a move of 2. He has actors. Now, these actor tokens here are something that we have not seen yet in Unmatched, because while we have the guy on this side, we have the lady actor on this side. Now, of course, back in the Shakespearean days, all of the actors were male, and you didn't have any lady actors. So, if this, hurts your brain a little bit that, you've got that, you can just imagine that this is like a guy in drag that's, playing a female, if that makes it more historically accurate for you there. You're gonna have, Shakespeare fighting, Robin Hood and Bigfoot and Yananga and Sun Wukong. So, I'm not really sure what we're looking for on historical accuracy here. His special ability is Iambic Pentameter. When you attack or defend, add your card to your line. When your line has 10 or more syllables, discard your line. If there are exactly 10 syllables, resolve the completion effect on the last card. So, we can look here in the set rules book, and we will see that the names of the cards will have so many different syllables in them, which will be marked. And if you manage to get exactly 10 of them, this effect down here at the bottom, which is in blue with the pen by it, you get the effect on that last card. Fewer than 10 syllables, nothing happens. If your line has exactly 10 syllables, read out your line as a proper actor would. That's the name of each card in order. This is your moment to spotlight, so really ham it up. This is in the official rulebooks here, okay? So you have to read out your line when you play it. And if you don't read out your line, then if you're playing me, I'm considering that a concession, and you lose. So you have to read your line. It's in the rules. Resolve the completion effect on the last card and place all the cards in your line in your discard pile. If your line has more than 10 syllables, place all cards into your line into your discard pile without resolving any completion effects. That's sad. So, things to think about with cards being in your line. If the cards are in your line, they are not, I repeat, not in your discard pile. So that has some ramifications since they are not in the discard pile. It's also when you attack or defend, it goes into it. So if you have to discard a card for some reason, that discard does not go into your line. That just goes straight into your discard pile. And also, if someone is able to do something like end your turn, they can stop the card from going into your line, and then it would just go straight into your discard pile, and you don't get the completion effect. Alright, so we're going to take a look at Shakespeare's deck here. First card in his deck is Horror, an attack of 4. And Horror has done something unique here in that this is the first card that has a different art for each copy of it, even though it is the exact same card all the way through. Wow. Different horrors. Horror of bats, horrors of blood, horror of fire, horror of snakes, horror of spiders. And yes, you did count right. This is 5 copies of Horror. They really want you to have this here. Have this card in your hand here. He's going to get Horror a lot, but you'll see here Horror has 2 syllables, so they put the little dots under it, and they put a 2 right there. Make it so you can tell. 5 copies of a 2-syllable card. That means you could get a line, and your line could be Horror, Horror! 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 Oh, wow. That is something crazy there. During combat effect, increase the value of this card by +1 for each horror card in your line. So you are wanting to get a few horrors in your line. Ooh, that's a lot of damage there. So yeah, that's why they got 5 of these. But that card's going to show up a lot. Horror. Next card. My Kingdom for a Horse. It's an attack of 5. Just an attack of 5. 6 syllables. Has no effect, but the completion effect is gain 2 actions. So if you can slap that in there, that can gain you some actions. The other nice thing is with this being a 6 syllable, you could have 4 syllables in your line, and this 6 syllable could really kind of come out of nowhere. It's like if you're sitting there with like 8 syllables in your line, they're going to expect a 2 syllable card to come out. If there's 4 syllables in there, they're not necessarily expecting you to drop a 6 syllable in there. You can drop a lot of things at that point. This card here, Once More Into the Breach. A versatile of 3, 6 syllables. After combat, return a defeated actor to any space in Shakespeare's zone. With the completion effect, return all defeated actors to spaces in Shakespeare's zone. Another thing about these guys down here, about this return all this completion effect, you can't feint that. So a feint doesn't stop the completion effect from happening. Alas! Versatile of 2, 2 syllables. After combat, if you lost to combat, Shakespeare recovers 1 health. The completion effect is draw 2 cards. Shakespeare recovers 2 health. Okay, he recovers 2 health, not 2 health instead. He recovers 2 health. So he would get 1 from this. If you lost to combat, you could get 1. Then you could get that there, so you could potentially get 3. The Ides of March. A versatile of 2, 4 syllables. No effect on the card. It's just a blank 2, but the completion effect is deal 2 damage to any opposing fighter. That's any opposing fighter. They don't have to be right by you there. They could be anywhere on the board. An actor card. Again, a versatile of 3, 2 syllables. After combat, you may return the first card in your line to your hand before you add this to your line. Draw 1 card is the completion effect. So you basically pull a card out of your line and stick it back into your hand. It will be that first card in your line. And it's important to notice that that card goes out before this one does it here. So it would be before this resolves. This is only a 2 syllable, so there wouldn't be any way to pull the card out and really complete the effect there. You're not going to be able to do both. Such Sweet Sorrow. A versatile of 4, 4 syllables. After combat, move your fighter up to 2 spaces. The completion effect, draw 1 card. So this is just a 4 that has some movement on it. This is basically a self-skirmish. Can't skirmish the other fighter, can't make them move, but you do get to move your fighter and you don't have to win to do it. So it's a good effect. It is just for the actor. And interesting to point out that both of your actor cards here have draw effects on them. All are punished. We're getting into our innies. This is an attack of 4, 4 syllables. Deal 1 damage to each other fighter in your zone. Well, all are punished, so each other fighter. Now that is each other fighter. That is not each other friendly fighter. So that will damage other actors that are in there in the zone. Could damage Shakespeare if he is in the zone. Once again, we have a draw effect if you complete a line with this here. Places, places. An attack of 3, 4 syllables. After combat, move each actor up to 3 spaces. The completion effect, place Shakespeare in a zone with no actors. So this just lets you move people around, Could move your actors and potentially move Shakespeare if you complete a line with that. Et tu, Brute, a versatile of 3, 4 syllables. Some people on the Discord arguing, is this et tu, Brute, or is it et tu, Brute? It's 4 syllables, guys. It's literally marked on here as 4 syllables, so it has to be Brute and not Brute. During combat, increase the value of this card by +1 for each of your fighters adjacent to the opposing fighter. Completion effect, place each of your fighters in any space. Okay, so this increases the value of this card for each of your fighters adjacent to the opposing fighter. If you're using this as an attack, then this will be a 4 attack because your fighter will be adjacent. So they're going to be there, so that's going to make that a 4, could potentially be more. If it's a defense, if you're defending against a ranged fighter, it's not necessarily going to have anybody adjacent. Deceive, versatile of 2 syllables. Immediately cancel all effects on your opponent's card. Hey, this is just a feint, guys. Completion effect, return this card to your hand. Okay, so it's a feint that could go back into your hand. And since it's named Deceive, it is 2 syllables. This is a really strong card. Being able to put that card back in your hand is kind of awesome. And lastly, versatile of 1, revise, 2 syllables. After combat, draw 1 card. If you won the combat, draw 2 cards instead. Well, this is just a regroup. Now, beforehand, I think Justin at Restoration had said that there was no regroup in this set, and he is technically correct. He was speaking very much like a lawyer there. First, kill all the lawyers, right? But yeah, this is basically a regroup. It's technically not regroup because its name Revise, and it has the completion effect. Move each fighter up to 2 spaces. This includes opposing fighters. Okay, being able to move fighters up to 2 spaces, that's like getting them to command the storms there. That's a really good effect there. So that's pretty great, being able to move everybody. Okay, so what do we got to say about Shakespeare, this hero here? Your hero, my hero, everyone's hero. The first thing we're going to notice as we look at this deck here is this is a very red and purple deck. What I mean by red and purple, basically we have no defense cards, no true defense cards. Everything is versatile. And I'm sure that is not going to be a problem, that there's nobody in this set who can do crazy things when the fighter opposing him plays versatile cards. So there are no defense cards in here. That is probably by design to make it a little bit easier to pull off a lot of these line effects here, that you don't have cards that you can only play when you're attacked. You can control when you are attacking. You cannot control when you are attacked. So by making it where there's no true defense cards, it makes it to where you have agency over all of your cards, and you can make sure that your cards are played whenever, and the opponent can't stop attacking you to keep you from being able to pull off some specific line effect. So that's an important thing. Additionally, there are no schemes in this deck. Not having defense cards is not a new thing. We do have Sinbad and Spike, who do not have defense cards. However, no schemes is a much more rare thing, that the only other fighter that has that is Buffy, with Xander as her sidekick, is the only one that does not have any schemes. Shakespeare right now is the only fighter that does not have 2 of the 4 card types. And probably he does not have the scheme because essentially his completion effects are schemes. That's how they function. Now, he does not have schemes to play as a pass. Now, he's not the only fighter without passes in that regard. He does potentially have some passes through Again and Deceive, that you can return cards either from your line or just deceive straight back into your hand. They basically function as a pass, and that basically makes up for not having those schemes on there. So we can see he's got a lot of really crazy effects here. A lot of these you're not going to be getting because you got to build the line up. And you got to figure out whenever you play the game which of these you want to end up using to build the start of the line and which ones you want to use to complete it. Sometimes you find yourself in the position where you don't really have a whole lot of choice in it. You have to play something or die, and so you may have to play cards suboptimally. You may end up going over the 10 syllables and not properly completing a line, because it's got to be exactly 10. Let's go ahead and do something different here. Let's sort all these cards by the number of syllables. So here for your 2-syllable cards, we have 5, 7, 10, 12, 15. So basically half of your deck are 2-syllable cards. For the 4 syllables, we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, which leaves us with 5 cards that are 6 syllables. And it makes sense that you would have more of the smaller syllable cards there. And so you can look at it here that the 2-syllable cards, the completion effects, are like basically the horrors that deal damage, but you've got to get multiple horrors off to really be able to pull that one. Moving up to 2 spaces, drawing 2 cards and gaining health, drawing a card and returning a card to your hand. The 4 syllables are dealing 2 damage, placing each of your fighters in any space, 2 of them drawing a card, and then placing Shakespeare in a zone with no actors. And then your 6 syllables being returning all of the actors or gaining 2 actions, which is a really strong effect there. That these 6 syllables, once again, these are really strong effects here on those 6-syllable ones. Obviously, your opponent will know that the 6 syllables are not going to be, probably not going to be coming out. If there are more than 4 syllables sitting down there, you don't complete it with just 2 showing. So these are going to be coming out most of the time when there are 4 syllables. And so it's going to make a lot of things for him really interesting with Shakespeare, that you've got to try to line up the effects on there. He could do some really nasty stuff, and most of this, once again, being kind of unstoppable, you really can't stop these line effects outside of an end turn effect, which most fighters do not have cards that end the turn. To play against him competitively, you're going to have to remember Shakespeare's deck, what the syllables are on all the cards, so you know when they could potentially come out. So you have some idea of what could be coming out at you there. So it's also going to make him very difficult to play against, because it is a lot you have to memorize against this guy. But anyway, that is Shakespeare. Oh, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and a like. You can go down into the comment section and let me know anything that you think about this down there. And you can also subscribe to my channel to make sure that you catch all the videos I post so you don't miss anything. I am Jeremy with To the Tabletop, and we'll see you around next time.